All right. So what's our first impressions? Obviously, like Dan was saying, I think before, we've seen a lot of sort of very washed up CS:GO pros go to Valorant in the early going. And I know if Colin was here, that was one of his biggest critiques, right? Is that, you have this brand new esport. Everyone's really stoked about it. First, real competitor to CS:GO in the world of tactical shooters. And everyone's going like, oh, swag or Brax or whatever, Skadoodle, everyone's going to Valorant, like, can't wait. But, like, a lot of us were saying, well, the people who are actually going to be good at this game are, kids, right? Like, young people who are going to come up on the game and usurp these CS:GO boomers,
right.
As time goes on. And I think that that was, I think, a pretty reasonable take, and we were stoked. I remember when 100 Thieves originally announced their roster, because it was a bunch of guys that we'd never heard of before, right? It's Hiko and 4 random dudes. I think they were all like PUBG guys. But before we get to that, let's get to this Nitro news. Nitro, obviously, part of the Liquid roster that, was the sort of second fiddle to Astralis, a team that could compete to be one of the best CSGO teams in the world. Like, what feels like yesterday, like it wasn't that long ago, obviously. So to see, obviously, 100 or Liquid CSGO is certainly going through a little bit of a metamorphosis now, but Nitro, in a lot of ways, was not, like, he's not a washed boomer. He is very, very recently removed from being, one of the best CSGO teams on the planet.
Where's the rest of the backup? They're not going to be there in time. Nitro with a massive spray gets the last 1-2 and shuts down the entire French lineup.
He's one of the nicest guys in the world. First thing I'll say, that interviewing him was fantastic. But what I'll say is that Nitro is Team Liquid, right? Like, he has been there for 5 years. He has done it all with that team. He's IGL'd, he opt, he was an entry fragger, and he really helped put the pieces together to turn Liquid into the team that was competitive for the #1 team in the world. And so, yeah, it's surprising that he left for Valorant, but at the same time, I just don't think, and this is all pure speculation, I don't know his inner thoughts, but to me, it's like, what else does he have to do? Like, he's kind of done it all when it comes to competitive CSGO. And I just think that the motivation, to keep kind of, it takes a lot to stay on top, right? Like, we always talk about the idea that it's easier to get to the top than to maintain that, like, that championship position, right? And so I just think
about that?
I mean, that is a concept when you talk about the rise within sports and esports, right? And maybe I'm wrong. You guys can disagree.
No, I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, but I think that, his motivation to kind of continue that grind and what it takes to be the very best in CSGO just maybe wasn't there, and he was looking for a fresh start. So, but definitely surprising. I'm not going to say I wasn't caught off guard.
Right.
But I do think that, like, look, I think he was doing pretty well. Liquid was doing fine. Obviously, they'd fallen from grace a little bit. They were not the best team in the world, and right now CS is in a weird place. I wonder if it was just, listen, there are some other NACS teams that were going to be able to pay for him. Maybe they weren't going to pay him that much, or as much as he wanted, or he just didn't see himself, like, winning a major with these guys. He was like, fuck it, let's try Valorant. All the CS players say it's easier than what's it called? It's easier than
CS:GO.
than CS:GO. Like, let's do Valorant. I'll probably be great at it. And he probably, I have not watched him play, but he's probably great at it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and you know what? He's probably in a position, like, right now is the best time for him to move over, where we haven't found those young kids that nobody knows about yet. And so his name still, I mean, his name is always going to carry weight, but right now he still carries a ton of weight moving over to this game, which means he could probably command, a better salary than, let's say, if he did this 18 months from now, where we have some established people who came out of nowhere. I think maybe that same name brand recognition wouldn't be in that same place,
Yeah, I mean, certainly as a CS, like, if you're a CS:GO guy, now is the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh, I think it might be doubly true if you're in NA and you're like, okay, well, if I'm not playing on this team right now, like, what am I doing? Do I have to go build a roster from nothing? Mm-hmm. and bring, and, like, do I want to do that? Like, I think right now is maybe a good time for NA CS pros who find themselves without a roster or wanting to get off their current roster make the hop. I think, and so maybe that was some of the thinking as well, you know. And yeah, I think he's gonna do great in Valorant. I think there's an opportunity right now for him, and yeah, I'm excited to see who his teammates are more than anything.
The thing that we were like not talking about, like, yeah, he's going to Valorant. Yeah, he left CS:GO. He could go back to CS:GO if he felt like it.
Yeah.
Like, if the Valorant thing
sure.
doesn't work out, or if Valorant doesn't take off, I'm like, I mean, he can just go back to CS:GO. Like, he's the kind of dude who, like, yeah, he could just come back to CS:GO and like land on a roster if he wants to. It's not the position of like Wardell, for example, who like struggled on the CS:GO team for years until moving to Valorant. Nitro could probably end up on any NA CS:GO team he wanted to. He just chose to go to Valorant. His career options are super fucking open.
Well, and I mean, listen, right? Like the fact, so he moves over to Valorant, and when you have 100 Thieves with Hiko, like Hiko has said, Nitro was one of his best friends when he was playing on Team Liquid. So not only do you have a new opportunity, you're probably going to get played a lot, but you get to hang out and play with one of your best friends. Like, I mean, it's a no fucking brainer from that perspective, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't know who Nitro is, he is my old teammate from Liquid, one of my very long-term friends. I've always liked Nitro. I've always got along with him. He was probably my closest friend on Liquid when I was on Liquid for the year or two that I was on it.
Whereas a lot of other old CSGO pros, this is sort of like their last hurrah or whatever.
Yeah.
Like with Nitro, it's like if this doesn't work out, it's like, you know, just do something else. That's what
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say that like Nitro's CS options were limited by Nitro at all. But just that like he might have just taken a look at the landscape and thought, well, if I'm not playing with this team, what am I gonna do exactly?
No, you're right.
And it's easier to take a fresh start with a friend, like you said, Devin. I think that's bang on.
Yeah, like he's not gonna go play with Cloud9. He's not gonna go play with a team that needs a serious rebuild that's gonna take a while in a game that's 20 fucking years old, right? Like, yeah, 100 Thieves is going through a roster rebuild, but it's with somebody that he has a great relationship with, and he probably is gonna have some say into terms of who 100 Thieves picks up. You know?
Yeah, well, I think this is kind of the important thing to bring in now is that while kind of like just before this happened, or maybe just after this happened, 100 Thieves announced this, which, from my perspective, was kept very under wraps. Like, they didn't really, like, make it a big deal on their main Twitter. They just have this, like, 100 Thieves Live Twitter account where they said goodbye to their entire Valorant team. Like, all these guys that Hiko has played with in the Ignition event so far are gone. So, in case you weren't aware, 100 Thieves' current roster is Hiko and Nitro, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, this is a team that's, like, kind of packing up their things and rebuilding, like, just before the esports scene has even started, which to me was more shocking than the Nitro news. What I see this is like a commitment to making Valorant esports work sort of at all costs, even if that means, you know, rebuilding, you know, bringing guys like Nitro in, who certainly cost a lot more than these 4 random PUBG guys that were playing with Hiko.
100 Thieves decided that it was time to make a change. I need to say, though, that don't think that I'm calling the PUBG guys bad. They were, like, super hard workers. I really like them as people, and, like, I really like them. So, yeah, I don't think... I know there's no animosity, you know. Ultimately, I think what needs to be said is I was not ever the GM of the team. Never wanted to be. Didn't expect to be.
I also think that the other thing that we haven't talked about yet is that picking up a bunch of nobodies that you don't have to pay a lot of money is not a high-risk move for any organization. And any org that has brand recognition and can popularize people who are not public figures yet, even though they might be good at the game Valorant, they can do that if they want. And in 2 weeks, if they all suck, they can get rid of them. And they aren't... What are they missing out on? Oh, they don't get to use the graphic that says 100 Thieves won this monthly tournament. Oh, no.
Right.
Like, it's not a big deal for them. I'm sure, like you guys said, I'm not saying these people are nobodies, because I get that some of them play PUBG or something. Yeah. But, like... This is not a high risk move for 100 Thieves. Now, admittedly, paying Nitro and Hiko to assemble a roster, there's a good amount of money in that.
Yeah.
But you at least have a resume there. Like, you can at least look back and go, yeah, Nitro, Hiko, wow, okay, we know what they've done. Maybe that's a clue as to what they will do. We don't know that for sure. But yeah, this is like, okay, they got rid of a bunch of their players. You know what? It sucks for those players because I'm sure they wanted to become a superstar in a 100 Thieves jersey. That really sucks for them. But I expect to see plenty of roster churn because I think there's almost no risk. And what are you missing out on, right? Like, as soon as it's like there's going to be franchising or something, right? Like, as soon as that comes down, then teams are going to be like, we got to lock in a roster.
Yeah.
But right now, you might as well play the field, right?
Yeah,
Might as well
it kind of makes sense, right? Like finding the faker of Valorant is just worth so much in the long run that you might as well just run it, right?
In high school, I used to go to Bulk Bar, which is like a bulk food store in Canada, and they had a pound of jelly beans for $2. And I would go on my lunch break to buy a pound of jelly beans, and I would consume it by the end of the day. And I think back on the person I was then, and I look at it now, and I don't recognize that human. I don't know how I could have accomplished that. So every time, it's a great rate for jelly beans, Miles. It's an amazing deal. But let's be real, a human being should not consume a pound of jelly beans.